So we curated this panel, like all of you represent very different generations, very different ways of working, and you really represent different forms of culture. In what you do in your industry or in your culture, what do you think right now is missing or does not exist, and that you would want it back?
I think in the past, there were a lot of like artisans and like people took a long time to learn how to make cloth or like wood, work, all this stuff. And because of technology, we went so much faster about laminates and like marble tiles and all this stuff. I wish that we would take it a little bit slower, and then people need to understand that being creative takes time. Just because I am creative doesn't mean the ideas come like this, right? So I would hope that in my industry, like we can slow down a little bit. Let me source some artisans to work with to make your space like actually feel and look good.
I'm feeling the same way with this like humanity. I feel like vulnerability and human connection, especially in an age where we're judging people on the squares or a 30-second whatever dance, etc. And we feel like we know their whole story. And we don't actually care to know what their real feelings are or their backstory, and there's no real desire to invest with depth in relationships. There's a lot of like quick fire judgments that we pass on strangers, and we do this with this kind of celebrity culture that we're all part of and invest in, whether it's in fashion or in art, music, whatever it is, right? I love Web3 and I love what AI does, but I also really like handmade, like almost slow craft cultures that are dying out or even just being passed on by verbally, like it's not even a written form. And I feel like we need to wake up to some of these art forms that are maybe gonna die in the next generation simply because we haven't prioritized its preservation.
When we're thinking like life hacks and thinking, ways that you could be really excited to get out of bed, or something that you're really looking forward to, what are things that you do for yourself as an individual and that you carry with you, whether it's through your own life or like through work or through your interpersonal relationships? Life hacks.
Like for social relationships, I try to because on the daily basis I work in like really heated, like fast-paced environments. So there are a lot of angsty, angry people. But what I do is like everyone has their bad days. I have my off days, and sometimes I'm just a bad person on that day. To just give people the benefit of doubt in a social setting. And as for work, like it doesn't matter the size of the project, just give it all you have. Like do the best you can do, even if it's like a little 10 square meter kiosk, just do your best. Instead of just like, little money, not worth my time, I'm just gonna give it 10 minutes, That's how I function.
My little life hack is, you were talking about creating boundaries, right? And like, when you get to a point where like you're sort of very busy, you still want to leave the door open to be able to allow opportunity to come in. You don't want to be the person that's like says no to everything because I'm too busy, right? So, but you at the same time, because time is finite and equal for all people, you do need some sort of very good buffering filtration system to like ascertain to yourself, this is gonna cause bullshit in my life, or this is something I'm gonna allow in, right? So what I've patented for myself is like the 4 Fs that I go by. It's like a little equation that I do. And so the 4 Fs are, F number 1 is friends and family, right? They're actual like friends that like want to work with you or do something with you. So good example of this is like, can you design my kid's bar mitzvah invitation? Or like, I'm putting out my first demo tape. Can you do like the cover or something like that, right? So that's a friends and family. Second is folio. That's the second F, which is like, this is good for my book of work. This client on my website will add a lot to like the sort of, gravitas of my agency or whatever. Third, is it gonna be fun? That's a simple one, right? Wow, this is gonna be really fun to work on. And fourth is, of course, financial, okay? you will never check all 4 boxes, unfortunately. There will never be an uncle that asks you to do something for a lot of money, that's a lot of fun, that's gonna be great for your portfolio. It's never gonna happen, right? So 3 is a definite yes. If you could get 3 out of 4, it's definitely yes. Even 2, right? So if it's like, you're still pretty lucky. Like, design my dog's birthday card and it's gonna be fun. Like, it won't be in my book and there's no money in it, but sure, maybe it'll be fun, right? But I find that once it gets to 1, and you'd be surprised at how often a 1F comes in, which is like, this project's not gonna be fun, you're gonna be embarrassed to put it in your portfolio, you don't give a fuck about any people that work there, but here's a big bag of cash to just, everyone hopefully has had that experience, in relatively speaking, right? Like where you're gonna do something for the bag and you feel in every other part of your gut, this is the wrong move. Yeah. But look at all this money, right? But I always find 99% of the time at the end, I regret doing that job.
But you could take all that money and find something that could fill, all the other Fs.
So my shitty clients tell me.
Oh. Steph, so you work in spatial design, it can be so personal. Has there ever been a time where the person or the brand that you're working with is coming to you with an ideal and you look at them and you think, no, fuck no, like you are not this ideal. How do you do it? How do you coach them through it?
I think there are a lot of Pinterest designers. Yes. There are a lot of Instagram designers, right? They take pictures and they show you this is like whatever's popular, you know what I mean?
You invented this game.
No.
You literally
not like that. But like they don't understand that when you look at Instagram, you're looking at a square box, right? And it's like one corner of someone's house, right? A little corner of like this chef's table, right? But in the grand scheme of things, there's like the windows there and like, the toilets over there, and they don't think about that. Also, it doesn't measure up to their character. And when I design for someone, I need to get to know you, how do you sleep? What do you like to eat? And do you cook? And all this stuff. With all that, we actually advise them, you know what, I think this might suit your lifestyle better. Not in a very like straightforward way. You have to like be smart about that. And they usually say okay, yeah.
So the really personal question that I think that you would hate, Jeff, is will you always want to be known as a sneaker guy?
I don't mind. It is. I'd rather just be. I'm happy I'm known for something, and if it's gonna be sneakers, it might as well be that. I think it goes back to, like you asked, what do I actually hate more about that? Is I think being, no pun intended, but pigeonholed into one thing is kind of annoying, but it's okay because I honestly do feel blessed. To be known for one thing is incredible. To be known for 2 is really something that like most people can only dream of, So I take it with a blessing versus a curse. I think a thing that honestly frustrates me even more, and it's always interesting when I visit like Southeast Asia, where it's like people say New York is a melting pot, but Singapore is really also another melting pot for another whole part of the planet. Obviously predominantly Asian, and as I look out into the crowd, it's like I feel sort of amongst my people. But being Asian American in the United States is a totally different feeling because we're always going through this thing of like trying to represent ourselves in a way that is reflective of our upbringing, of what it means to be respectful of like your elders in the room, and like don't raise your hand too much, don't make too much noise, but also be the most overachieving straight A 100% student that you can be at the same time. So it's this duality of like crush your competition, but be very, very nice about it as you do it, And it's just hard to constantly juggle that. And also, again, being Asian American, like there's a lot of minority races sort of going after, we're like in this weird chess game of like battling everybody. And it's hard to know who are your allies and who are your like friends and who are your frenemies, so and with the political atmosphere that's happening in America too, it makes it like an everyday battle to operate. When I'm sitting at a conference room, for example, you are playing poker with all the faces at the crowd, and you have to be like, he's that guy, she's that girl, like this is how this is gonna play out. And I wonder if it's like that here.
I'm answering for everyone. Everyone has a different reference point, and it really depends like who you're speaking to and what rooms you're speaking in. something that we try to do is really like diversify where we are, who we're talking to, and the topics that we're actually talking about. And these are ways that, you know, we can break out of like echo chambers. But for real, stereotypes exist. There are, you know, all these groups of people that come together and they're the same, rinse and repeat, even conversations. So when we were planning this with Lexi, just for everyone, we were like, we don't want to be like another panel talking the same old topics, like feeling good about ourselves. We really just wanted to get into the meat of it. Do you think of these things as also the challenges that you face in what you do in life and job, and, you know, how you represent culture?
I think it does. I think that, like, outside of work, before I joined Diageo, I was curating art for private collections and stuff like that. Mostly because growing up, there wasn't a contemporary art institution. So I think, like, yeah, what I hate about not seeing myself in the world, whether that's in film, music, art, etc., TV, it is my near-term challenge, because I feel like building a culture for culture in a big institution comes from fighting for visibility and fighting for representation, but also showcasing what that does for communities and how it unlocks opportunities. So I feel like the near-term challenge for me is creating an understanding that culture isn't formed by contract, but by community. And investing in the community, and genuinely not having this like transactional, do me a design and I'll forget about you next year because I've moved on, but I actually invest in your exhibitions and in your world and your community. So in 5 years down the line, I actually have impact and I have credibility. There's a real exchange. I think that's the thing I hate, but it's also the hardest thing to deliver on as well.
What's your near term?
Paying the bills. I think my company is at a very different place from you guys. So it's still very much still a startup, like 3 years something in.
You're not Diageo size yet?
No, unfortunately not yet. We'll get there. Yes. But yeah, so like we work on a project basis, right? So we're just hoping that we get the next project. And so far so good. We've been really, really lucky. So I think for me as the founder, my constant worry is like, can I pay my staff? And the next thing would be, how do I make them happy? Because I think this day as an employer is no longer like, I pay your salary, so just do everything. So it's a lot about making them happy and understanding them. And then when you have happy staff, they actually work a lot better for you. Yeah.
So if we asked your staff today if they're happy,
they must say yes. They also must say yes. Yes, it's in the contract when they sign. Yeah.
Jeff?
My near-term challenge right now is I'm opening up a retail store in New York. It's going to be a staple flagship store, and it's very strange in this day and age of like e-com and one-click shopping and AI generative this and that I'm opening like a brick and mortar four-walled store. It seems pretty ass backwards to do so. And I'm dealing with a lot of like the sort of legacy rules that are in place. Like my store is going to be in a landmark building, so I have to deal with all these like 100-year-old rules that are sort of meaningless today, but I have to deal with them. And I also often wonder why I'm doing this. And Steph actually has seen the store. I only asked 3 people in my whole network worldwide. I only showed 3 people the store to get their opinion, and Steph is one of those people, and she gave some really, really great advice on it. Thank you so much for that. Send me the invoice. No, see? We're the same person.
Did it for free. I started a Miro board and like did everything for him. Yeah.
But yeah, that's my like near-term headache. It's like every possible thing that, you know, I mean, we've got guys here that do stores too, and it's like a little red thread, and when you're like, let me fix this one thing, and you pull on it, and you're just like, oh my god, this thing like never ends, you know. So dealing with all of that right now, we're trying to open in like November, December, so it's like we're really like right there. Yeah, it's stressful.
It's stressful, but it's exciting, no?
No, it's mostly. There's also like I have crazy like imposter syndrome about it. Like I'm like, why am I like, what am I doing opening this space? You know, like, I'm really kind of nervous about it.
Do you have an answer to that? What are you doing opening this space?
No, I don't. I mean, I want to do it.
Actually, I think he's not giving himself enough credit because he did tell me like the whole concept and like the brands he's bringing in and how it's gonna look and what they're gonna do. I do think it's quite an interesting store. Actually, I miss brick and mortar stores, maybe because I'm in spatial design as well. But I do miss that like personal touch, feeling things, touching things, and seeing interiors that look good. So no, I think you're doing a good thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.